Welcome back to the Alec Lewis Show. I am your host, Alec Lewis. This is episode 133, recording on Thursday morning, December 4th. The guest for you today, his name is Ben Leber. You know him well. He is the sideline analyst on the Vikings audio network. He's a former NFL linebacker on a bunch of shows here locally, on KFAN, on Twin Cities Live. Always enjoy talking ball with Ben, especially when it relates to this team, which we both are around often. So think you guys will enjoy the conversation. We talked about J.J. McCarthy. We talked about this matchup with the Commanders, got into kind of our feel about calling this game in particular from an offensive standpoint. So really good insights from Ben, per usual. Enjoy the conversation so you can stay tuned later in the episode for that. If you're new here and watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. There's like a little red box in the corner. You hover over it, you hit the subscribe, and it helps us out a lot. We really appreciate it. Have now done this going on probably a year and a half at this point, and it's been a blast to build our, listenership, audio ship. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or iHeart, you can rate and review and follow, and all that stuff helps us out. This show is presented by First Resource Bank. If you don't know about it, they're a member FDIC bank in the Minneapolis area. They've got branches all over the place, and it's run by really, really good people. Tim Siegley, Aaron Siegley, Charlie Anderson. Christy at the front desk gave me an update. She works at the Washington location. She said she's having a hard time this year, just like you guys. So if you want a bank with a great platform and people that you will get along with, who care about this community, highly respect going to check out First Resource Bank. Show is also sponsored by Unreal, locally owned clothing brand, which has NFL limited edition drops pretty much on a weekly basis at this point. Some of the coolest hoodies you're going to find, and then their attire in general is perfect for the winter. They've got beanies, they've got socks with branded logos on them, they've got sweatpants, joggers, whatever you need. Unreal, the clothing brand based here in the Twin Cities. Please go check them out. Their information is in the description below. Real quickly, just a couple thoughts from me. Have done my weekly study on the upcoming opponent. So I watched the film of the Washington Commanders, have looked at a bunch of advanced data, talked to people around them. We will see on the quarterback situation. In many ways, it's hard to imagine why Jaden Daniels would return in this game, but you could probably have said the same in past weeks about Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow made it very clear. I just want to play ball with my guys and do what we love to do. So we'll see. If Jaden Daniels plays and it's not Marcus Mariota, Jaden Daniels' ability to play in rhythm and throw accurately from the pocket would be something that would generate or necessitate a tweaked specific game plan from Brian Flores in this defense. Jaden Daniels, I loved watching him coming out in college. You know, there were questions at the time probably about Jaden Daniels' ability to throw on rhythm, in rhythm and on time. Always felt like if you watched the LSU tape and he threw over the middle of the field, it was there. You could see it. Really always kind of felt like his fit in this Vikings offense would have been spectacular. Never felt, was never a realistic option in the sense that most people expected that Jaden Daniels would be going number 2, and the Vikings, it was going to be quite difficult for them to get up there. But just the ability to hit downfield throws, fade balls down the field, the LSU connection with Justin, always thought that would be pretty cool. For the Vikings' hopes, him not playing would give them the best chance to win a home game that the Vikings really need to win, considering they are 1-4, I believe, at home this year, and their last 2 games at home are against NFC North foes in the Lions and the Packers. So, you can argue that losing leads to a better draft pick, which is optimal in the long run. And you might be right. I mean, it's hard for me to argue at that at this point. But from, if you're thinking about the people who work 2 floors above me and what they need to happen, it's probably best that they win home games in front of a crowd that is on edge. I mean, it's a quick little anecdote. Like, I got back to the hotel in Seattle after the game Sunday, and it was a bunch of Vikings fans in the lobby and people of all different ilks, men, women, families, people by themselves, people who flew in to see friends, and you could sense the angst, the frustration, the pissed off nature, I guess you could put it, of this fan base. And so the imagining of losing the final 3 home games, 2 of them against division opponents, there'd probably be a lot of booing. The nature of the vibe from the fans, like you guys who listen and watch this show, will only, I mean, the anger will probably only ratchet up. So important in that regard. But I would say for my entertainment, I'd love to see Jaden Daniels in person. Have done did a story on him before the draft on his work with some of the virtual reality technology that LSU was kind of somewhat of a pioneer with. So always been an interesting player to me. The thoughts, some other thoughts I wanted to get to. I mean, obviously, if you paid attention, Kevin O'Connell on Wednesday was asked what his expectations or what he wants to see from J.J. McCarthy down the stretch here these last 5 games. And Kevin O'Connell made kind of a joke of like, I know how much you guys, he was talking to the media, I know how much you guys have logged away the lessons of this year from a quarterback mechanics standpoint. But Kevin was essentially like, it's time not to talk. It's not time to talk about that anymore. It's really just JJ's got to go out there and rip it and pitch and catch and make the throws. And part of me wonders if removing somewhat of the clutter, you could call it, from JJ's mind will allow his arm talent at times to take over in this game against a defense that, I mean, I'll just start there. Like, this Commanders defense has given up one of the highest explosive play rates in the NFL. Their pass defense, believe they're giving up 8.7 yards per play, which is the most in the NFL. So if you have trouble moving it against this defense through the air, it's a signal of obviously major problems, which we already know exist. It would just further that even more. You peel it apart, they stopped, the numbers I'm not sure match the eye test completely of what I saw on film of the Commanders defense against the Denver Broncos. They stopped the run fairly well against the Broncos. They played a lot of deep zone coverage, making you check the ball down. And so as I think about JJ in this game, my mind goes to, can you identify coverage quickly? Can you check the ball down? Can you be accurate? Can you throttle down the velocity? All of the stuff we've talked about a million times. Can you just do that consistently time and time again? And if you can, there should be areas and space and voids for him to move the football and the Vikings to move the football down the field. Now, the run game, it's probably going to be pretty tough. I am of the opinion that even without Dorrance Armstrong, this Commanders front can cause problems, especially against the Vikings offensive line, which, even though there's been so much shuffling, it's just hard to have a ton of faith in that group right now. And so whether it's Deron Payne, the interior defensive lineman for the Commanders, guy, I still, on film, he's got burst. I'm biased. He's an Alabama guy. But Deron Payne is a good player. So he's going to require you to pass protect and be very sharp in the run blocking phase. They have Von Miller, who is very old at this point, but he's still, the technical, he knows how to get home if you are not on your P's and Q's from a snap in and snap out basis. There's an edge rusher, Jacob Martin, who had a little juice to me, kind of intriguing player. Frankie Louvu, their off-ball linebacker, is a Tasmanian devil. He's like Ivan Pace Jr. if you could rely on him a little bit more. Like, that's the type of player Frankie Louvu is. And so J.J. McCarthy has to be very careful, definitely inside the pocket, but out of the pocket, if he's scrambling, I mean, this guy, Frankie Louvu, is going to be hunting him down on the field, and you have to be very mindful of that. Their secondary, pretty rough unit. I semi-like the young cornerback, Mike Sainristil, who's a teammate of Jay's in Michigan. Noah Igbenogany, if I'm saying that correctly, is an athlete, Brian Flores drafted him in the first round in Miami, but, from an instinctive perspective, just doesn't feel like this defense is the most instinctive beyond Bobby Wagner in the middle at linebacker. So, not an exceptional defense. Not sure if they're as bad as the numbers suggest, but it's definitely a bottom tier unit. Compared to the Seahawks, it's not even remotely close in terms of what they do, how they execute it, and the explosiveness, speed, and instincts on the field. That's night and day different from those two groups. So you really hope the combination of letting J.J. rip it, paring down things a little bit from a volume perspective to help everywhere else. You hope all of that pays dividends for the Vikings offense. Now, for the Vikings defense in this game, look, I was pretty blown away watching the film of the Commanders against the Broncos by Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator's creativity. Specifically in the run game, it was counters, powers, traps, whams, counter bluff pullers with a quarterback run game. And you guys who aren't maybe as scheme savvy as I'm talking to where you can understand the way I'm talking about. It's all different types of run schemes, from pistol, from the shotgun to the outside between the tackles. They've got a bunch of running backs. Chris Rodriguez Jr., not sure if he is the best at reading paths, but he is explosive. They have a guy, Bill Krosky Merritt, rookie, who intriguing player. So, for me, the defense, it starts with stopping this run game, and specifically it's Mariota. They're going to use him in that phase, especially when you get towards the red zone. Also in the red zone, and this speaks to the creativity, they'll go wildcat with Deebo Samuel and with fullbacks in the backfield, and they use different personnel groupings. So it's I honestly, there's a lot that's been said about Cliff Kingsbury nationally for years. The job he did in Arizona, the way he calls a game, the vibe, how he is Cliff Kingsbury and how the energy he exudes. But for me, just watching this one game sample of the Commanders versus the Broncos, thought it was pretty creative stuff. And you give him credit. You give that staff credit, you give the players credit for executing, obviously without Jaden Daniels, against a Broncos defense that is easily one of the best in the NFL. So, and then their offensive line is pretty good. The Commanders' offensive line is pretty good. Left tackle Laramie Tunsil still doing it at a high level. The left guard, Chris Paul, is a great point guard. No, he can pass protect a little bit. He's not exceptional. Tyler Beatty's the center, is a capable player. The right guard, I like Sam Cosmi. And then the right tackle, Josh Connerly, is a rookie top round pick. So I do think there's a chance the Commanders can control both fronts in this game. And that's really beyond the J.J. McCarthy conversation. As I look at this game, that is the challenge. And that is the question I have showing up to US Bank Stadium on Sunday. Can the Vikings fronts control this game? And are they going to get manhandled by Commanders fronts that I think are pretty good, but that, this is why you pay guys, is to win the line of scrimmage in games like these. So going to be interesting. We'll have a full-on preview at The Athletic with John Krasinski like we do every week, so go check that out. And then some stories to come over the next few weeks about this team, about certain players, and then, we'll wind our way to a season ender on the nature of this entire odyssey of 2025. So appreciate you guys being here for episode 133. Let's hop right into our conversation with Ben Leber. All right, Ben, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
Alec, I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Are ya? You guys are in the belly of the beast. I at least get a chance to step out and do a little Twin Cities Live and talk lifestyle stuff and cook and look at fashion. And you're in this thing every second of the day.
Absolutely, but I will say, you're still writing. The belly of the beast is being on the field, which you have actually done.
Yeah.
It's not really the belly; it's kind of the periphery of the beast. That's what I would say. But anyway, did you? The Seattle trip's one of my favorite. I will say that. Going into the stadium before the game, I was feeling great. Then obviously the game happened, and probably wasn't feeling as great. But I like that trip. I assume others do too. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on how much time we have to enjoy Seattle. Um, it's so odd because I always felt like that was like a really long flight.
Yeah.
But then we got on the plane. Now it took a long time to de-ice. I don't. I'm guessing it was the same thing for you, but like the actual flight time was like 3 hours and 10 minutes, and I was like, well, that wasn't all that bad. It's kind of a nice like time to like watch a movie and just hang out. I think the issue for this trip was, looking at the game, especially now in hindsight, it's like this is one of the toughest environments to walk into against a really good defense and a really good team. So I was like, there's always hope and optimism. But I'm like, man, who are we kidding? Like it was going to be a monumental effort to kind of win this game in that environment with that crowd and that team. But it was gorgeous. I mean, as you saw, having a sunny skies, the end of November in Seattle, Washington, it was perfect football weather. And, I do enjoy the crowd. I do love that stadium. I do like that city if I have time to kind of roam around.
Yeah, it was like everything until the game. And then I do want to start here because you do these post-game videos that I think are phenomenal. And for the people watching this, I hope they follow you so they can see them because you have a very clear-headed, concise take after the game. My question for you is, how do you not sometimes get caught up in the emotion of what just was as you're recording those videos? Because people ask me sometimes, Alec, why don't you do a post-game pod in some capacity? I'm like, I'm not mentally ready to put myself for 30 minutes in front of a camera after what I sometimes see. So that's how I'll start, because it does feel like you look at it very level-headed, like minutes after. Sometimes it can be great, or obviously recently it not so great.
Yeah, well, I do appreciate that. They are fun to do. I do love the interaction with fans afterwards. Now the thing is, like, if you would actually watch me do these, it probably takes 5 or 6 takes to actually get the one that I want. That is sort of concise. It is level-headed because I do get caught up, using swear words, and I'm like, oh, I can't. No, I can't probably say that. I do have the benefit because I don't do them like immediately after the game. I get the essence of what you're talking about. I do have time to talk to the players in the locker room. I got to do my commitments with KFAN, and then I am doing my between the lines with Vikings.com. So, I think through talking to Tatum on that and just kind of breaking things down, it does sort of diffuse some of that energy. I gotta say though, like, I've had a few people, and I do have to check myself, especially after the Packers game, where I said, I think this offense is broken. Like, I think it's that to me, even while I was saying it, I'm like, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. I know it. I am gonna get, like, this is way too negative. I mean, they're not gonna like what they're hearing. But I also feel like I owe it to everybody, including the Vikings organization, to be honest. And I try to be honest, and I think you used a good word. I try to be fair. I don't try to like overlook the fact that our quarterback play has been historically bad. That you can't fake that. I mean, everybody's involved in the numbers these days, and I get it. Numbers can be manipulated, but when like the numbers actually match up pretty much to what we see on the field, it's like it's been historically bad. So, in the way that everything looks and feels on the field, it did at that moment feel broken. But now there's chance for repair. We all know that. And I think that we all take these weeks, the few days in between these games, to do that, to sort of purge all that negative energy. I'm already like optimistic about what could possibly be on Sunday versus the Commanders, and I'm sure you're doing the same thing. We go up and down throughout the course of the week, and then you start talking yourself into this hope and optimism. Like, hey, maybe I like this approach that they have with McCarthy after this press conference with KOC. It's things like that.
The way I've told friends, like specifically this year, it's like by the time I get to the Friday football feast, I've like cleansed myself of what has just been. And then like you have no choice because you're in that environment with Vikings fans, with PA, with Nordo. Like it's going to be mayhem. It's going to be fun. People are going to be optimistic. So I'm not just going to get booed off the stage. So you don't really have a choice, but it's interesting. You mentioned the JJ, Commanders game, the recent conversation. I personally thought Kevin's comments on Wednesday about him just playing with a clear head, clear mind, I thought that was telling. I thought that's like probably exactly where it needs to be at this point in the season with 5 games left. What did you make of those comments, and how much does that, in particular, that strategy give you the optimism that you kind of just referenced?
I thought it was a positive self-reflection by both parties, by everybody involved. And, we'll never really know what the conversations are like on a moment by moment basis between every rep on the field, between every rep when you're going through film study and all that stuff. And, but if they are sort of taking this collective approach of let's pull back the reins a little bit, let's just everybody take a deep breath. And let's kind of go back to what we know about J.J. McCarthy at this point is he is a gamer. He can play the game of football. Like, let's stop acting like he can't play the game of football. Like, he can play quarterback, maybe not at the level where Sam Darnold was last year. And I think that's both good ways and bad for him to be injured and watch all that transpire, because I'm sure there are things that Darnold does on the field when you're watching film. You're like, that looks easy. Like, that doesn't look like a hard thing to execute. But it does take a veteran mind and processing and arm strength and accuracy to kind of pull off those things. And I think JJ is kind of right in the middle of figuring that out. Like, things aren't as easy as they seem. Every situation is different with a different offensive line, and you might have the right play call dialed up, and you don't get the protection you want. Like, you have to problem solve in real time faster than he's ever done before in his life. And to KOC's point, it seems like, maybe reading between the lines, of like, yeah, maybe we did give him too much on his plate, and I think I think, in the big picture, you kind of want that. You kind of want to see, how much can you handle? Let's really test this kid. What can you really handle? Because if we come, I hate to like bring the Gophers into the situation, but there are times where I watch that quarterback. I'm like, are you getting everything you can out of this quarterback? Like, is this offense really geared towards him? It seems very safe. This kid seems like he can handle more. I would hate for to walk at the end of the season and be like, did we coddle him too much on the play calling? Like, were we too conservative? Were we too safe? Now at this point, I think we know, like, all right, we tried it this way. We tried to see if we could pick up where we left off last year with Sam Darnold. It didn't work. And you can always, as the coaches always say, it's easier to pull back on the reins versus have to push and get the horse to go.
And I think, the interesting thing for me, at least talking to people behind the scenes, is the breadth of the game plan. Like, I don't think that has ever been the problem for JJ from a understanding perspective going into the game, from an ability to, like, have the protection plan down pat. It just feels like it's been the application on the field in real time with the bullets flying. And so, like, if the answer is, you know what, let's just, minimize that volume and let him go play without the thinking. Kevin made the comment on Wednesday of like, I know you guys as a media have logged away the mechanics conversation forever. And I've said many times, like on the podcast and writing, I feel like I've taken a course on quarterback play this entire season. And I understand why, because his view as a head coach is that those mechanics are required to being accurate consistently, but you also have to coach the person individually. And I think, like, at least I feel this way, JJ, the more he thinks, probably the more he's going to be thinking, and that's going to intervene. And so I'm excited to watch him on Sunday with this kind of approach. And maybe that makes me a fool. I don't really know, but this Commanders defense also gives up more explosive plays than anybody. So it does feel like a spot where just do what you do, man. Like, use your athleticism, be smart, you know it, and just do what you do. And I'm excited to watch it. I imagine you're in a similar spot.
Yeah, I'm in a similar spot too. It's funny how that one statement, that sort of like one little paragraph of KOC talking, all of a sudden just kind of flipped me back around of like, yeah, let's see what that looks like. Like we're all excited. I'm not saying that it's gonna look like a kindergarten offense out there, but like I do think that if, let's just say, they gave him the Sam Darnold playbook this whole year, what does that look like when you pare it down to a third of that? Where now all of a sudden the route combinations that you have to understand against certain coverages go from 50 down to, I don't know, 25 or even like 20. And I think that then you start betting on, if you pare it down that simple, and if you like maybe take like an inflated preseason script and say, what happens if we just do these handful of plays and we just do them really, really well? And we don't overload the whole week with all these different concepts and looks and depths of routes against different coverages. We just have these 20 plays, and we can run these 20 plays out of 10 different formations. And maybe that's it. Like, all you got to remember how to do is put this guy in motion, shift this guy. It's the same concept that we ran in the first quarter. We're going to change up the look a little bit. It's going to look entirely different to the defense, but Justin's going to run the same route. J.A. is going to come right behind him. He's going to be open a half a second later. If all of those things are kind of what he's alluding to, I'm excited for that. Like, because I think that McCarthy can pull that off.
Yeah, and I think for everybody else on the offense too, like, it's just, your responsibility on this snap, and you guys know this plan really, really well. And as good as you can be next to him will only help him, because that's been a part of this that, I mean, I'm sure for you too, like for me specifically, it's hard to parse. Yes, JJ's performance has not been remotely close to the standard, but when you have Will Fries gets beat on a 3rd and 2 early in the Seattle game by Leonard Williams, and so the play's dead. Like there are, the receiver drops have definitely played a role. That's been the aspect of this that, as you well know, like in my job, you write about the quarterback. That's what it is, but we all also know that everything around the quarterback matters too. So I think there's part of the paring down that affects everything else as well, to be able to just lift the floor, which I'm interested to see for sure. The other aspect for me that I can't wait to kind of watch is, you have a Commanders team again that defensively has struggled mightily, specifically against quarterbacks with their first read. So it can, to me, just feel like this is a spot for JJ to get his feet wet, and then you have 4 games down the stretch to make it happen with 2 games at home against divisional opponents. Like and the run game has to be part of it. Like that's what 100%. To segue a little bit, I feel like the run game I've written about, and you can, to your point earlier about numbers, you can manipulate and do, but the reality of the facts of the matter are, it doesn't feel like the run game has been, for me at least, I'm speaking for myself, the identity of this team the way it needed to be. So I'm hopeful that is another area that can kind of show itself Sunday against the Commanders.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm okay. I really am fine if KOC wants an identity of this offense to be a passing offense. I'm fine. Everybody is fine with that. I would say, maybe a pure example of this is, let's go back, 10, 15 years college football. Chip Kelly at Oregon. Everybody saw Chip Kelly's offense as this pass-happy offense. It is explosive. They get guys out in space, and you're like, how are we going to cover this? When you watch the games and then you actually look at the stats, that dude ran the football a ton. I think he actually led the Pac-12 in rushing. And you're like, wait, what? Like, I thought the identity was passing. It is, but they actually have a really competent running game that sets up all of their stuff passing. That's why they can get their guys out in space and they find those one-on-ones, because you have to honor the running game. I don't know why that can't be the same thing with KOC. I mean, I'm sure that's ideally where he wants to get to, is that, hey, can we push these guys and dominate the line of scrimmage in the run game, to then force everybody in the box, to then manipulate what their safeties and linebackers do in a play action game. And then we can be explosive. And then all of a sudden, your passing offense is top 10 in the league. And then people dig into the numbers and like, oh, crap, like they're 8th in rushing. Like, didn't even know that. Like, all we have to do is I feel like we have to stop Justin Jefferson. We have to stop the receivers. We got to stop these guys in the open field. So it can be done. And I think he wants it to be done. But when you look at the Seattle game, and I was charting it in the middle, like I stopped charting in the middle of the fourth quarter because I was still ruminating on the fact that, like, why did we go forward on that 4th and 1 with that type of play, right? With that quarterback in that situation against that defense. But even up to that point in the game, end of the first half, the longest run we had was 4 yards. It was the first play of the game, Alec. And it's like, then it was like 1 yard, 2 yards, -2 yards. Like, we could not run the football. So you're asking yourself as a head coach, we got 1 yard to go, but our average on all of our runs is probably in the negatives. Like, what's the better play here? And so I do understand where he's coming from. So somehow, some way, we do have to run the ball against this defense, and we have to run it enough proficiency that it does open up the passing game.
Yeah. And you just got to that's the hard part is, if you don't have Christian Darrisaw and you don't have Donovan Jackson against a really good front like that, it is going to be hard to run. So you can understand the calculus. That's where, even in my job, like I can hear the intent, and some of it does make sense for sure. You just wish at this point in year 4, with all the investment, that you could get a yard. The last thing for me, I was joking with a buddy of mine. I'm like, why can't the first, and this is so like reporter or fan perspective, so I fully admit this, like, why can't the first play just be a jet sweep to Justin, just get the ball in his hands? I don't care if he's tackled for -2, but just get him within the flow of the game. Like, that to me feels so essential early in this one, to just, have his mind in it. Not that he, as a captain, as a leader, does he need that? I don't know, but why can't we just do that from the outset? That's again, really easy for me to say, but that's where I would be with this game in particular.
Well, it's a great call because, we've seen now, as the tendencies become more concrete throughout the course of the season, at this stage of the season, you may have written about it. I don't know where I saw it, our lack of motions on run plays. And, that's the book on us right now, that if you're scouting us, you see motion. If I'm a linebacker, I'm saying, okay, well, by deducing what they've done in the past, this is going to be a pass play of some point in time. So all of a sudden now my attention and my weight starts shifting backwards because, okay, where's my pass drop versus what's my run fit? And if you start off the game putting an outstretched Justin Jefferson motioning in like it's going to be a pass play and then hand the ball off, well, guess what you just did? Now you just set up everything else to be like, oh, crap, like, now they're using motion in the run game? Okay, well, maybe I got to keep my feet planted here for one extra, half a second to make sure that they're not changing up their tendency for this particular game. So I think that's an easy way not only to get him involved in the game and get him an easy first touch and set his pads. I mean, we all of us, we enjoy getting hit early in the games because it kind of wakes us up, So you sort of like take that. Yeah. Maybe not like Jackson Dart on the sideline type of hit, and maybe not reporters. They don't want to get hit, but as players, you do want to take that early hit, get him involved in the game, be like, and let Justin know, like, you're going to be involved today. The ball is going to get into your hands. It's not going to be the third quarter before you get a step back throw and you get a -4 and then you get slammed on the ground. That's not the way to incorporate Justin Jefferson early.
Yeah. Last thing, 1 minute. I'm going to get you out of here. What have you thought of Eric Wilson this year? Because I've just been blown away.
Spectacular. I think the problem's going to be he's in year 10, I believe. He is 1,000% earned a 2 to 3 year contract that is a sizable amount of money. He's a really good football player, and he's maintained his durability. He's shown that he can play multiple positions. He's an outside rusher at 6 foot tall, you know, and I'm not saying that he's dynamic on the outside, but he's showing you different looks, and you can do different. He's a chess piece that you can now really truly move around. Instead of just being a pawn moving forward and attacking at an angle, he's moving everywhere, and he's making plays. And so I think you have to reward players like that. It's just how many teams are going to invest in a 10-year linebacker at his age, any sort of high-end guaranteed money. It sort of sucks that he's peaking right now at this time in his career, but it's fun to watch. And I think as long as B flow and this type of system stays here, he's definitely a guy that we should invest money again in the next couple of years.
Him everywhere. I mean,
everywhere.
Up the interior. It's and it is, to your point, to be in the league this long and then to finally get the defensive opportunity and do what he's done with it. He doesn't look, however his age is. I mean, you see him. This guy looks like a UFC fighter who would win the welterweight. Like, that's what I when I see him, that's what it's like. So
I mean, every person in Minnesota, if you had Eric Wilson's body, you wouldn't own a shirt. Like your closet would be probably just cut off jeans. That's all you would have. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he is for that age. It is pretty crazy. But I as a former linebacker, for you to be a former linebacker, I was like, I got to ask you about it. But no, I'm looking forward to Sunday. It is interesting. By the end of these weeks, you get yourself like back in the mode of like,
it's a sickness, man. It's a sickness, and I don't know what's wrong with all of us as football fans, but I'm sure there's Raiders fans out there. They're like, I don't know, man. This weekend, this is gonna be the game.
No, it's good stuff. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it, man. I'll see you in the press box.
All right, man. Have a good one.
And that'll do it for episode 133 of the Alec Lewis Show. Appreciate you guys being here. If you're new, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, that little red box in the corner. It helps us out, and we appreciate it. Please go check out First Resource Bank, which is in probably wherever community, Lino Lakes, wherever you live. The likelihood that there is a First Resource Bank branch is pretty high. And then go purchase some Unreal. I mean, they've had some unbelievable sales recently. And, I mean, look, it's high quality athleisure. I think that's what the kids call it. So wearing it a lot, very comfortable, warm in months where like these, where it's negative 7,000 degrees and you can't go outside. But please go check out Unreal. Great brand, based here locally. So no brainer to go support and wear and rep it around. And then check out The Athletic, stories galore, and there will be much, much, much more to come. Looking ahead, looking behind, details of this whole arc of what this has been. So, just stay locked in. Keep your eyes peeled at The Athletic. Much more to come. And enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the college football Saturday. Stay warm, and we will talk to you very, very soon.